Hello, my name is Pamela Bracken. I'm with the University of Georgia and MRII, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar. We're thrilled to have over 650 people registered for this topic, and it is a fascinating topic that affects all of us in the market research industry, namely how leading organizations are using AI not just to scale qual, but to elevate its impact across business. I'll introduce our speaker in a moment, but first let me cover a few housekeeping details that I'd like to briefly introduce you to the University of Georgia and MRII. Our webinar speaker will be taking about 30 to 40 minutes to cover his topic, but we'll leave plenty of questions available. So please feel free to use the Q&A chat button for your questions as they come to you, and then we'll get them at the conclusion of his topic. We are recording today's session, and it will be available on demand for future viewing, so long as you tick the "it's okay for us to contact you" after the webinar. So that archived webinar will be available later next week, so you'll hear from us then with that archived recording URL. Niels, if you could move to the next slide. With that, let me give you a brief background about the University of Georgia and MRII for those of you who are not familiar with us. Next slide. MRII is a not-for-profit educational institute with the singular mission to provide education and skills development for best practices in the research, insights, and analytics space. We have a variety of ways in which to do this to meet the needs of both practitioners as well as users of research, from those that are relatively new to the industry and those that are experienced and want to brush up and learn more. Next slide. A quick word about our courses. They're online courses that teach the core skills to design and conduct impactful market research, and over 10,000 research practitioners from over 100 countries have completed our courses since 1996. And there's one of two ways in which you can take advantage of our courses. And the first one is our core course, our classic course, The Principles of Market Research, which covers about 13 foundational topics of the market research core body of knowledge. And this certificate program is endorsed by all major market research and insights associations. And successful completion of the course earns the candidate a digital badge, a certificate of program completion, and eligibility for 4 different global certification designations. You can learn more about this program by scanning that QR code or going to marketresearchcourses.org. Next slide. Then the alternative is through our Principles Express courses, where you can pick 1 or 2 or 3 topics. They're short courses that are completed in 30 days or less on targeted learning foundations, whether it's sampling or research design. Again, you can scan that QR code to get more information, especially now as you're getting close to the end of the calendar year and you want to fulfill some professional development for you or your colleagues. If we can go to the next slide, we'll also tell you about our Principles Express bundles. These are certificate courses that combine some of our topics, and candidates have 90 days to complete 3 different topics. You can see we have Analytics 1, 2, 3 and Foundations of Quantitative Research. And we're going to be launching next month a new one on Foundations of Research. So if you're on our mailing list, you'll receive information about that shortly too. We can go to the next slide. Also, I want to tell you about some of the other things that MRI does, and they want to offer deep knowledge in through different opportunities. And one you'll see is through our YouTube channel, which offers learning videos on short topics from AI to advanced analytics to B2B market research and more. And new videos are released each month, so we hope that you check them out. If you go to the next slide, you'll see information about our podcast series too. And these are key topics that we are interviewing insights leaders, from Ben Page, the former global CEO of Ipsos, and Pam Forbes, who's from Mondelez. So we hope that you'll check that out on any of your podcast channels. And lastly, we want to thank the sponsors and founding associations of MRII and the program, Insights Association and ESMR. And there on the right side, you'll see all of the different industry associations who are very much concerned and hopeful that many research organizations, client and suppliers will take advantage of our learners. Okay, let's get started. So now we're going to be talking about AI and qualitative research. We're pleased to have an expert speaker from Conveo, Dr. Niels Schillewaert. He's the head of research and methodologies at Conveo AI. It's an end-to-end AI-powered insights platform. Niels combines entrepreneurship and commercial research with his academic research throughout his career. He's the co-founder of Human8, that's formerly the Insights Consulting, and he has a strong academic background as a professor of marketing at the Woolrich Business School. His research was published in leading scientific journals such as the Journal of Marketing, the International Journal of Research in Marketing, the Journal of Services Research, the Journal of Academic Marketing Science, and others. And Niels is the former president of ESMR, the Association of Global Insights and Analytic Community. Thank you for being here, Niels, and it's over to you.
Thank you, Pam, for this nice introduction, and hello, everyone. My talk is about beyond scale and how we can use AI to unearth and understand authentic human behavior. What we feel is, our vision is that AI goes beyond qual at scale, which is currently the talk of the town. But where does it all come from? Where does AI really start? Well, not so very long ago, this would probably be the toolkit that you would need to conduct a qualitative or an ethnographical study. So lots of tools, computers, things to carry. If we look at the time that you would spend and you would take, let's say, I don't know, an ethnographical study in 3 countries with 25 people, or similarly 150 qualitative interviews spread across, I don't know, 5 countries with 30 each. It would take you over a month of man days to interview people. It would at least, and I know we're all good researchers, but good planning would take 2 weeks, 2 weeks of field, a week of transcribing, and we would get to the full analysis maybe after 6 weeks, maybe a little bit shorter. But anyways, it's a tedious process. It's super interesting and incredibly valuable. But what AI does is AI disrupts this whole approach and this whole process and planning. But we believe that, as I mentioned, the promise of AI is more than just qual at scale. Obviously, AI will help you to do all of this in a lighter fashion, as well as in a faster fashion. But it does more than that. It really leads to a transformational shift. And there is a number of components that I want to highlight, not to be exhaustive, but to really look at how things are changing. When we look at digital research and even some applications of AI in the quant space, it's still very transactional in nature, and it's very structured. Our surveys and the AI-powered surveys, are smart, but they're still Boolean-esque if you want to. When you look at the power of AI, applying it to qualitative research at scale, let's name it for like that just for a little bit, it's much more conversational. It's much more context based. People are in their natural habitat. Another element is that, yes, we are able to do multi-country studies and generate multi-country data. But with this power of AI, we can get to local cultural insights much faster and even much deeper than before. For example, we've conducted a study in 5 countries asking people to show their shower and got over 270 observations in a heartbeat. And it's virtually impossible to do that with a regular traditional approach, but AI allows you to do that and get to local culture really fast. We're going from simplified logic to an uncut flow. As I will show later, AI permits to really mimic a human conversation. And that human conversation is flowing naturally. And you know, have a natural conversation. So it's not a programmed if-then logical tree. Yes, we can now do better, faster, cheaper, but we can even go beyond that. I will show you that the application of what we call multimodal AI allows us to understand not only what people say, but how they say it and what they do. And yes, we have a do-it-yourself toolbox, but AI really allows you to go beyond DIY. It's really more of a collaborative capability if you want, because you can look at an AI as a junior workforce, a coworker in your team. I will illustrate that throughout the presentation. So the promise of AI is participative, it's collaborative. As I mentioned just now, consider it really as a team member that you're hiring. And what it boils down to is that AI allows you to scale your team without really scaling your team. You're really, you know, giving yourself superpowers. And I'll come back to that in a second. If you look at what AI means for the method toolbox, let's, you know, look at what that is, because applying AI to qualitative research is really a separate methodology compared to what we know. When we simplify things, we've got quant on the one hand, as we know, that's good for statistical inference, description, numerical description. And on the other side of the spectrum, we've got qual, which is very good for deep psychological understanding. If we mash up AI in this mix, we really feel that AI has a sweet spot that sits somewhere in the middle, a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, depending on how you apply it. Haven't come up with a new term, you could say quali-quant or anything like that. But what it really does, it gets you to the why in a quantified way. Because yes, the AI is able to run hundreds, if not thousands of interviews at once without any human constraint. So the sweet spot sits somewhere in the middle. Of course, a human being, a human-to-human interaction will generate much deeper and psychological insight than an AI will. That's logical also by design. And still, as human beings, you know, AI needs assistance. But it sits somewhere in the middle because of the scale of things and because you can compensate some of that potential loss of depth with the scale of the application of AI. On top of that, AI does really a good job to hold a human-like conversation, as you will see. So what does it mean? AI gives you really superpowers because it eliminates, you know, any human constraint that you may have. The AI doesn't get tired. It doesn't have to take into account a planning. It can't have any conflicts. It can run interviews at once and simultaneously. It can do that across time zones, and it can do it in a lot of languages. If you look at that, and this is the Conveo experience illustrated, roughly 3 buckets, right? The AI can help you in setting up your research. You can upload a briefing, you can type in a couple questions, and it'll generate a topic guide and a research design for you. It runs the interviews. There's an AI allows to moderate interviews in a very human-like way. It'll follow what you have told it to do in the beginning. Obviously, it'll follow your script, but it'll also adaptively and smartly moderate based on the interview input from people. And once you're done with your data collection, there's an instant analysis available. You can just click on a button and you have insights from transcripts all the way to thematic analysis, as well as being able to prompt your data and co-create, as you will see. What can AI, you know, be used for? What are we seeing that are the, you know, best applications, the use cases? Well, there's a number, and you can look at it in different ways, but it allows a multidimensional approach as well as an iterative approach over the course of time so that you can compound your insights about your brand and within your market. We see that AI is often applied on the one hand for consumer understanding and behavioral observation. So anything in terms of A&U or unmet needs, jobs to be done, demand spaces, triggers and barriers, shopper insights, obviously, and ethnographies. Because you can, as you will see, you can have people take interviews on their mobile phone and send them out of home or in home to specific areas of their house, as I mentioned, a shower or their pantry or their fridge, so you can have them show and tell things. So it can generate very rich understanding of how people behave. Secondly, we see a lot of application in the space of what you could call brand building and expression. So brand positioning, brand equity, understanding is key. Communications, claims, and messaging, what resonates with your audiences and what doesn't, is also something that you can use AI for. We also see a lot of application in what you could call concept design and optimization, whether that's products or packaging, or even showing and understanding how people should use a specific product. What we see is that these can be used as separate studies, but they can also be combined within one study so that you can get to a holistic and more effective decision-making based on a full and complete understanding of what's going on. And we see numerous clients of ours apply, AI in this multi-dimensional and iterative way. But AI is still, and luckily so, I would say, not autonomous. Yes, it becomes agentic, if you want to use that word, and it's, as I mentioned, gives you really superpowers, as it's like a junior workforce in your team, but it still needs a human eye. And we believe that AI should put people first. It should basically, what it should do is it should help people to outsource process and insource knowledge and strategic capability. So what it should help you to do is to get you to that added value much quicker than you could ever do before. So in the first sense, when we say people first, it's about you as researchers to make sure that you can get to the added value much quicker and can cut out a lot of the tedious jobs. We also believe that AI should be fed with authentic data, with new data, with primary research. We're not a firm believer of synthetic data only. In fact, it's a little bit of a strange word because it has connotations as if things aren't real. So maybe we should talk about synthesized data or summarized data, or simply secondary data on which we overlay new data to get to a contemporary and a modern and up-to-date understanding. So AI is very powerful. Absolutely. We believe in it. We believe in its power, but we also believe that it needs to put people first, because that's what we're all interested in, which is understanding human behavior. So what I'll do is I'll illustrate this, the power of AI throughout this research process in a step-by-step way, and each time try to show how AI can be a true collaborator and be participative in what you do. I'll do it with a series of short case studies, illustrations that will hopefully make this clear. The first part that we'll look at is smart study design. AI is capable, based on very little information, even it's capable of generating a full study design and generate a topic guide or an interview guide for you. The example that you'll see is an example that'll come back later. It's a study that we did, a short study of about 15 minutes that we did on coffee rituals. We conducted it in 5 countries in language, and had over 150 people participate in the study, showing their coffee machine, showing how they set up or make a coffee, but also tell us what coffee does for them and how it's important in their lives. If you crunch the time zones, we were able to conduct this study in less than 5 hours of field time. So let's have a first look at the smart study design. What I'm doing here in the video that you see is I'm prompting it, and I'm asking it, generate me a demand space study around coffee. And to the right-hand side, you see me prompting and interacting with the platform. It's generating a research guide structured around research objective with each time measurement questions underneath. I can prompt it to go faster. I can prompt it to go slower. I'm here saying, develop me the entire topic guide at once. And it does that for me. It shows me what it is changing, and I remain in full control of what it's doing. What you can also see is that right here, I can allow structured questions. I can say most of my questions are open-ended, but here I want to show a scale, or I want to show a multi-select. I can also define the level of probing per question. I can say no probing at all, just continue, or I can do a deep dive on a specific topic. I can also add stimuli. Here in this case, I'm doing a monadic design in which I'm uploading 3 images of a coffee machine concept, which will be randomly shown to people. I can do it sequentially monadic if I wanted to as well. I remain in full control, and I can even say, adapt me question 10, make it more creative. And just like in Word, it's giving me a review which I can accept or decline. I can also specify the languages in which I want the moderation to happen. By the way, I can do that in over 50 languages, such as German, English, French, Arabic, and the like. So what you've seen here is I'm prompting, I prompted it with 5 really simple questions. Create me a demand space study on coffee. I can also upload a remain in full control, and you can interact with the platform. You can prompt it to change specific things. What we see is that clients are telling us that you're going from a design that may take a couple days to a design that will take a couple of hours, if not even less. So obviously, it depends on the complexity of your study and the length of your study at hand. Once you're done with setting up your study, there will be a human-like moderation. And what we believe is very powerful is to base or use moderation and AI by means of video and voice. So we believe that a platform generates the richest information if people are actually talking. When people are typing, they're a little bit more in a rational, transactional mindset, and the responses are much more elaborate. How does that work? Well, you can always see in your transcripts, which you get in the analysis phase, as well as during the field, you can always see what the AI moderator has asked as a question and what the participant has answered to that question. You can also see which were main questions and which were probes. So you can basically judge the quality, if you want, of the interview at hand. And you can do that for every interview should you want to. What the AI also is able to apply is memory throughout the conversation. So it'll remember something that was mentioned in the beginning and may either skip a question later or repeat it or probe on it, referring to, you've already talked to me about such and such, but I would like to know a little bit more. So it's a very natural engagement with participants, and it leads to relevant follow-ups as such. We actually see that a lot of the insights that we generate come from probes and not necessarily the main question. Just to give you a feel of what the UI looks like, this is how an interview looks like.
Could you share a bit about yourself? Maybe your name, age, and anything else you'd like to tell me about your background or lifestyle.
So I'm Hendrik. I'm a 27-year-old guy living in Belgium. I am very passionate about AI and technology and about water sports. I work pretty hard, but I also love to spend time with friends and learn new stuff.
So what you see is like a karaoke type of interaction. the text appears on the screen. There is a voiceover that reads it out loud, and the participant, clicks on a button, answers, clicks, and proceeds. And so this is how the live interview goes, and it's really based on advanced prompting and leading edge application of artificial intelligence. In terms of experience, people really seem to like it. Based on our own research, we have over 90% of participants consistently rating the interviewer experience a 4 or a 5 on a 5-point scale. We have basically very, very little people rating us a 3, and I haven't seen an evaluation that goes lower than that. Obviously, is it perfect? No, there is room for improvement, but we're constantly doing that and constantly adapting our quality moderation to that matter. Next is, once you've collected all the data, you want to get to the why, and there's multiple ways of doing that. What you will see in the next video, relying on the same coffee ritual study, is that you can do it to what we call multi-level analysis. You always have your transcripts available to you. That's your main source of truth. As always, as in every research, there's very good interviews and there's less good interviews. If you don't like an interview, you can hide it. You can just, eliminate it from your analysis. One level up is that you get a question-based analysis. So every question in your topic guide is analyzed, and you get summaries as well as graphical representations. There's a level up, which is a thematic analysis, and the thematic analysis will combine clusters of information, themes that will help you understand your business question. And one level above that is an application which we call Talk to Your Data, which allows you to prompt, for answers and recommendations based on your interviews. I'll show that last one in a second. Let's first look at the basic analysis of getting to the why in this way. So what you see here in this little video is, first of all, a management summary. So you get an executive summary with links to a more detailed approach already. That's really a gist and a summary of summaries, if you want, of the study at hand. I can browse through, I can read that. I can also look at a thematic analysis. And the thematic analysis is nothing else than a wall of quotes. As you just saw here, this is a wall of quotes with people, testifying and belonging to a specific theme. If I want to, I can click on that and listen what people have to say.
For me personally, it is a morning ritual. So it's part of, again, my quiet morning before I get ready for the day.
So a very rich understanding of what people are saying about a specific topic. Sorry about that. But what I also have is I have a question level analysis. So when I go to the question level analysis, I see all the summarized answers to a specific question that was asked in my interview. This is an AI summary of that specific question. I can filter it. I can look at, for example, what are the differences between Brazil and France. And I can also drill down to specific quotes. This is a lady who says her coffee machine is messy. I can look at several quotes that report that, and I can listen to a specific snippet.
I would give it a 7 only because it's very loud, the machine. It's messy, it splatters coffee, and it's not accurate with the amount of ounces that it says it gives you.
So as you can see to the right, that's the transcript. You can see what the AI has asked as a question, what the participant has responded. And if I like that specific snippet, I can favorite it and I can like that and download it for my story building later on. So I can get to the why by means of a high-level management summary, a thematic analysis, a question level analysis, all the way down to accessing full transcripts and back. A module that I like a lot and that is extremely powerful, in my opinion, is Talk to Your Data. So let's say that you're in a phase where you've pretty much got control or a fairly good understanding in a descriptive sense of what what people have said about a specific topic, but you're getting into recommendation mode. You're getting into creating recommendations for your stakeholders, and you may even want to co-create specific aspects. The example that I'm going to show you here is a product optimization concept or product concept optimization study that we ran for Ben & Jerry's. We conducted the study with over 190 participants who participated in a interview that lasted over 20 minutes, and people came from 7 countries. And basically, this was about exotic fusion ice cream flavors. So we tapped into what's the potential of the idea as such? Would it fit Ben & Jerry's? And then, as you can see down to the right, we also showed people product concepts and basically product ideas to ask about credibility and buying intention and brand fit and things like this. If you have done your basic analysis, you can start to talk to your data. How does that work? Well, here I said, use the transcripts and develop me 4 new ice cream concepts with an unmet need, the product idea, give me the main benefit, reasons to believe, etc., etc. With a click on the button, it's mining these 190 plus interview transcripts, and it's describing me the product as well as generating me a visual. What I can also do is, if I have personas, for example, I can upload personas from a previous study, and I can say, develop me a concept that fits with these personas. I'm uploading the persona, it's looking at my document, it's reading the transcripts, and it's now again developing me a product concept with an unmet need, the product idea, the main benefits, who it is for, etc., etc. And again, generating a visual. I can download that visual, I can have it optimized study as a follow-up. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm using my study or different studies to come up with new assets, in this case, a product design. We've also developed a persona module. Should you not have any persona, our platform has generated them. So for example, I'm looking at Linda. I see what quotes support Linda, who's a comfort connoisseur, or Ava, the adventurous taster. I can also chat with Ava, and I can ask Ava, tell me what your favorite Ben & Jerry's exotic fusion ice cream flavor is. She loves that question. Obviously, it's AI, so it's very friendly to you, but I can also ask it why she loves it and generate a visual. Generating a visual of what Ava likes, which is Ben & Jerry's Urban Jungle Swirl. Similarly, I can download this, I can take it in a next design phase, and I can do continuous iterative research on the topic. Another application of talk to your data is that you can also generate recommendations. So the previous example was co-creation, but this is about recommendation. We did a category and shopper insights study in 2 ways. We had an in-home study where people showed their pantry and talked to us about their usage of protein bars. And we also had a section of people to actually go into the store on a shopper mission and be in front of a shelf and tell us what they saw, what they observed, what drew their attention, etc., etc. This study was conducted with 69 consumers who conducted an interview of 14 minutes in the US, and field time took 48 hours. So let's have a look at a concrete application of talking to your data for creating recommendations. This is about getting recommendations of packaging performance. So we prompted the platform to make an analysis of how important packaging is in terms of stopping and holding power, for example. We asked which brands in the market perform well and which brands in the market could use some improvement. You can see that the platform is generating this output in a heartbeat each time with links to quotes of people that support this analysis. What you can also do is you can, look at this, but you can also look at your own brand. And for example, one of the things that we did here is we uploaded assets of PowerCrunch, and we said, look at these packagings, look at the transcripts, and give us an analysis of how PowerCrunch is doing and what could be improved. And so it gives you a nice summary table with the strengths and the weaknesses of the packaging materials. So this is where the power of, if you wanted to, synthetic data lies, in the sense that you can upload your own information, your own assets, and hold it against transcripts or primary research that you've done. A next step in the phase of AI as a true collaborator is bleeding edge technology. It's very new. It's based on technology that was released earlier this year, and it's what we call multimodal AI. What multimodal AI does is it doesn't only look at the transcript, or it doesn't only look at what people say, but it looks at the video content. And the video content could be SKUs, behaviors, but it could also be nonverbal behavior. So people frowning or facial expressions. It could be the tonality of how people say things, and it could also be the type of words that people use, the vocabulary. What it allows to do is to bridge the gap between claimed and actual behavior, as well as do a full emotional analysis of not only verbal, but also nonverbal behavior. Let's have a look at the actual versus claimed behavior by means of looking at the same category and shopper insight study in the protein category. What you will see here is, first of all, the regular application of shopper insights and how AI can help you with that. You will see here that these observations bring about stories and context, which is extremely rich. Let's first have a look at how this person interacts with the shelf.
It's the promotions that caught my eye on the log, and all the different flavors that they have. And they're plant-based. They have 14 grams of protein, and also these mezcla bars. The pistachio chocolate puff crispy bar caught my eye. And I want to tell you a little bit about, those just look great. Here's the mezcla. Let's take this, for example, the vanilla matcha. It's got 10 grams of protein. It's plant-based. It's puffy, so I like the texture. It's crispy. But also these Aloha bars are also plant-based. And again, I love the flavors. And these have 14 grams of protein. But what I'm going to check on this, because I like regular sugar, I don't like artificial sugar. So this uses the monk fruit. It's organic. But I do love the Think bars. They have 20 grams of protein, and I like how those taste. They don't have any artificial sugar taste to them, which is something that I'm very much opposed to. And also these Nugo bars. I used to buy these all the time, and then you couldn't find them anymore. But this has no palm oil. It's got the 13 grams of protein. But let's go back to the Aloha. There are so many different flavors. So what caught my eye is not only the flavors, but the sale and the amount of protein. And the texture feels good.
So this is what you would normally have. It's a very rich, very raw story, but you would have to manually analyze it. What multimodal AI does is to pick up on the actions as well. In this illustration that you will see, this person will be showing her pantry. And in light blue, this is the transcript. This is what the person has said. And below is the visual analysis. I'll let it play and then comment on a couple of things that are striking or very powerful in this multimodal analysis.
I actually just have one brand of protein bar, which is Quest in here. I generally buy the other brands, Cliff and Kind, but y'all caught me on the guard and I haven't been able to go out to get more, but that's my Quest box. Generally, we just eat healthy, red beans and vitamins, lima beans, which I think I'll take one out because I'm hungry for it. Peanut butter, there's a good protein buster there. The sugar-free creamer in the back. I drink a lot of try to not drink Cokes, drink the things there.
So this was important, the last moment. So if you look at the transcript, this lady says, I try not to drink a lot of Cokes. I drink these things here. She doesn't mention the brand, but at that moment, she picks up a box of Ocean Spray. And the multimodal analysis is able to say, I see a basket on a shelf which contains boxes of Wires Light and Ocean Spray powdered drink mixes. So this adds value to the richness, because the person doesn't mention the SKU, but the multimodal AI picks it up. If you noticed, one of the things she also said is that normally she has many more brands in her pantry, but we all caught her on the guard. So one of the powerful elements of in-home ethnographies and shop-alongs is that people really behave in a natural fashion and are not necessarily prepped for the researcher to come in. So multimodal AI allows to pick up actions, products, and brands that people do not verbalize. Another application is to do a full emotional analysis. And this is obviously very handy, for example, when you show stimuli and specifically advertisements or mood boards or brand manifestos. This is a study that we conducted for the BBC in the UK with over 80 participants who basically reviewed a 1-minute advertisement. And one of the things that we did was try to understand what the emotional reaction is of people when they're seeing a specific ad. The ad really starts with a lot of fake news and all the bad stuff going on in the world and ends up with BBC is there to search for the truth. What you see here is the regular analysis, but I see an emotional analysis in the colored graphs. If I'm understand or want to understand what fear means, I can jump to the interviews and listen to what people have to say.
Living in a world where they could get in trouble online, so things like deepfake, they scare me. Towards the end of the advertisement, knowing that someone is going to expose any fake news, any fake information, knowing that someone is going to always check all their sources makes me feel more relieved.
And I can see underneath the interview, I don't see the transcripts here. I see what the emotion detection does. It looks at the visual analysis, so basically the facial expression of people. It looks at the kind of words that people use, and it looks at the tone of voice that people use when they're expressing their thoughts. So here too, there's nonverbal emotional cues that people that you can capture with multimodal AI. So multimodal AI is super powerful. As I mentioned, is bleeding edge, and it's really relying on revolutionary technology. And it allows you to understand brand and products that the system recognize, but people don't verbalize. It captures gestures and usage. It can look at context in a much broader sense. It looks at body language as well as allows emotional analysis. And currently, the state that we're in with multimodal, our very first steps today, we apply it to the analysis. So once the interview is over, so it's retroactively, we have to have conducted the interview before we can do multimodal. The holy grail, and something that is on our roadmap, is to also apply multimodal live within an interview. So then the moderation will become very different, because the technology will be able to say, oh, I see you have a pack of ocean spray. Could you tell me a little bit more about it, without the participant or the respondent having mentioned any of these topics. So that'll lead to, we're not there yet, but that'll lead to much richer information as the AI will moderate live on video content. Finally, very powerful as to where AI makes a difference as a true collaborator is in the potential of generating reports. So you've seen quite a bit of the platform, but when we look at the BBC study, for example, I had made a summary here of the ad's effectiveness, its emotional analysis, as well as how the ad could be optimized. I have all links to interviews. I click on a button and I say, make me slides of this, make me a overview of visual slides. In just 2 minutes, I sped it up a little bit, but in 2 minutes, this is what the platform generates based on the textual summary that I've given it. So it's generating me a very visual slide. It's even making graphs out of the information and the transcripts in the back. It's making me a segmentation. It's adding components that were not necessarily in my input, but that is available in the transcripts. If I click export, if you want to, you can export it to PowerPoint. And you have a version that's fully editable that can be adapted to your house style and where you can add content should you like to. So if you look, summing everything's up, AI can be fully integrated into your insights workflow. As I mentioned before, it gives you superpowers, and you should really look at it as a junior workforce in your team. In fact, it's helping to scale your team without scaling your team, from smart study design over human-like moderation, getting to the why with multi-level analysis, talking to your data to co-create and get recommendations, go beyond what people have said by applying multimodal AI, and then in the end, generate your report. If you want to skip multimodal, you can obviously do that. If you don't need to talk to your data, you can also do that. That's really flexible for you available. So that concludes my piece of this talk. I hope you found it interesting. If you want to know more, here are our contact details. And if you want to reach out, feel free to do so. I'm handing over to Pam.
Great. Oh my gosh, goodness, Niels, we've had so many rich questions come in, but before we get to those, if you could move to the next slide ever so briefly, we want to tell you about next month's webinar, the bottom line on insights, making insights matter to the C-suite. And that's going to be Pam Forbes from Mondelez International. And while you are sending questions in, I will put the registration link into the chat as well. Let's go back to that Q&A slide there. Oh, I don't know where to begin. Let's see. I'm interested in the applications of B2B, and someone actually had a similar question. How does it help healthcare professionals? Is it possible for the tool to create a topic guide, do analysis, but have humans do the moderation? That's kind of a combination of questions.
Okay, yes, that's a little bit multi-layered. We have definitely done B2B applications. We've done them with healthcare professionals. We've done them with people that are responsible for hygiene, for example, in companies, and they seem to like it. Healthcare professionals, the advantage of doing a qualitative interview is that they can do it at their own pace and at their own time if you want. You can, in terms of moderation, a couple things there. You can change the tone of voice to be more formal in a B2B setting, and you don't want it to be unfriendly, but you want it to be a little bit stricter. Whilst in a consumer to consumer setting, if you want, that can be a little bit more loose or informal. The other aspect that we often get in that, sometimes the B2B topics are more technical. Does the AI know enough? Because it needs to be a naive expert. It needs to know what it's talking about, but also on the other hand, leave enough room for the experts to talk. There's ways around that. You can upload information, provide a lot of context so that the AI knows in the background, I don't know, certain formulations or certain specific terms that it can apply, and it can use that. The second layer of the question was, can humans also intervene? For now, we don't have that available, right? The AI is doing it at its own pace and its fast pace without any constraints. You can always go back to the actual interviews. Everything is recorded, everything is transcribed. What we do see sometimes is that there's like a two-prong or two-phased approach where you do, say, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 interviews. You look at the results, you do a couple of changes, and you do the next layer or the next adaptation. That's obviously possible, but live intervention for now is not possible. We also sometimes see that we do 50 or 100 interviews, and then a couple of participants, professionals in this case, are handpicked because they're interesting, and then there's another traditional follow-up study that's done. So it can really go in symbiosis if you want.
Terrific. Do participants know upfront that the interview is an AI agent, and then kind of dovetail that? How does the AI ensure the respondent is providing enough depth to their responses?
Yeah, very good question. Absolutely. So it's full transparency. People know it when they come onto they get a link, they come onto a screen, and there it's explained that this is an AI. What will happen, that they go on videos, it's full consent. We also built it in typically in the screener as well to say, you're going on video and you're going to be interviewed by an AI assistant. If people don't like it, then of course they shouldn't participate. But it's very natural. It's one of the reasons why we also haven't developed an avatar and you have this text, because then people really know it's a machine. And if you make an avatar, it kind of gets into that what we call uncanny valley, and people start to feel a little bit uncomfortable because it's too spooky. And this is human-like, but it's not too spooky. And so forgot the second layer of your question, Pam. Can you quickly repeat it?
Does it create an inadvertent screening event then? When they
So
know?
for pharmaceutical, yes, you can also you can build that in so that you can search for those. I remember the other one is how to avoid that the AI does enough probing. Tied to that, we often get the question, how do you avoid that it starts to hallucinate? Well, in the back end, the prompt, it's really programmed to be an experienced qualitative moderator. So it has boundaries. If you try to trick the platform and say, I'm doing a study about MRII or UGA, and I would want to know, let's trick the moderator and say, tell me bad things about that institution. It won't do that. It'll stick to the topic guide that it has. It'll also classify the responses, and if it's off topic, and if it's off topic repeatedly and too many times, it'll friendly but firmly terminate the interview. If it's incomplete, it'll classify, okay, this is what I already know, and this is what I should probe on because I have this in the back in my topic guide and I still haven't covered those bases. And so then it'll probe. Obviously, that depends also on the level of probing that you've allowed on a specific topic, but it'll always keep in mind the research objectives that it needs to cover. And so it does a pretty good job. You have to believe me, but we have clients that have over 20 years of qualitative moderation experience, and they're super happy with what the platform is able to do in terms of performance of moderation and interaction.
We're dealing with so much fraud in both quant and qual. How does a tool like this deal with that?
Hello, sorry, Pam, you fell away. I couldn't hear your question.
Yeah. So we're dealing with so much fraud in both quant and qual respondents. How does a tool like this deal with it?
Yeah, very good. It's unfortunately an industry-wide problem, which we all have to be very sensitive to. First of all, we've got quality measures built in, like the number of insights generated, the length of the interview. So interviews that last too long or too short, and especially the ones that are too long, you should scrutinize those because some people may be looking up answers. So that's one measure. You got some quality measures there. Secondly, people are on video, so you can see when they're tricking and when they take a long time in between questions. By going through the interviews, you sometimes unfortunately get to see an interview that's bad. You can eliminate it from your analysis. So those are a couple of we all need to work together to get through that. But we don't know in a survey when people are clicking. It's very hard, right? We can look at patterns that are not necessarily normal, but here in this approach, we do know. We also have technical checks. So when people are using it, it's not guaranteed, but if people are using a VPN and mess up with their time zone. So for example, they're in an Asian time zone and they're supposedly Americans, we flag those and you can look at that. And some people are flagged and they're not frauds. It's not because you use a VPN, but a lot of times, we can filter out people, and by going through your themes, which generates a lot of videos, you can quickly see whether you have a problem. But it's not scientific what I'm now going to say, but it's in our platform less and in our experience less than 1% that has that. But it's one too many, right? 1 out of 100 is one too many.
That's right. So here's kind of a comment, a question at the end. So projective technique is used to uncover people's deeper feelings, attitudes, subconscious motivations, things that they may not express directly in a normal interview or survey. Instead of asking respondents straightforward questions, researchers use indirect prompts or ambiguous tasks that project the participants' inner thoughts onto the situation.
Yeah.
This is a tool that comes in very handy for qual, and it's reinforced by nonverbal of the interviewer. How does AI make up for this?
Yeah, it can cover quite a number of projective techniques, as the likes of, sentence completions. You show a stimuli and you ask people to interact or talk about it. You cannot have people make a collage because you're in a digital setting, but you can show a collage or similar collages or mood boards if you want. It does fairly well in terms of laddering. So asking why, if people say what's important, why is that important? Why have you, why are you saying or bringing that up? So to a certain degree, it can do that. Is it as good in terms of applying projective techniques as a psychologically trained, moderator? No. So in that sense, it has a limitation. But there are specific techniques that you definitely can use. And if really that's the use case, my recommendation would be to combine the methods and say do 100 interviews with AI and then do maybe 10 or a dozen deep dives live in person, whether or not they're handpicked from a platform like this one or not. But then you get both combinations and both advantages if you want.
Barry asks, can you add external input? Some customer convos with regulated industries might not want non-employee resources involved, human or digital.
Is the question, can you upload information?
Not sure. Can you add external input? Question mark.
So if it is things like uploading background information, you can definitely do that. You can upload previous research, even previous interviews, and say combine it with the new ones that that we've done. When I heard employees and non-third parties, you can obviously build the study yourself, and it can be walled and protected from anyone else to see it. Your participants could also be employees. That's absolutely absolutely possible. So I think yes, you can upload external input for sure, and of different formats. This is also evolving, right? You will be building a piece, a body of knowledge throughout and over the course of time.
What is the biggest sample size you work with? We just have 2 more minutes.
Yeah, there's no limitation. We have a client that runs over 3,000 interviews in one study and continuously. I would say the minimum or the sweet spot of the minimum, if you have a homogeneous, like one country, one concept, one audience subgroup, that's 50, because then you get to the richness. Other than that, to the upside, there's no limit. Oftentimes the limit is budget, of course, because you have incentives and you have recruitment.
How is recruitment for this done?
Yeah, we have a number of panel partners that are fully integrated, which means you put in your screener, you click on a button if you have enough credits, and it starts to do the data collection for you. And we have a number of partners that are, for now, semi-integrated, which we are integrating further. And what that means is you get in touch directly with a program or a project manager on their side, and they do all the programming and the legwork for you, and you interact and they follow up for the field. Also for the fully integrated panel partners, there's also an interaction with a project manager. So we don't have our own panel, we don't solve that problem, but we do facilitate it for our clients and users.
And the last question I think we can get to is, can this tool be integrated with other survey platforms like Alchemor, Zoho?
Depends on how you see integrated. One application that we've done is that participants would go through a survey, and then as a follow-up, they would go through a Conveo interview. So that integration can be done. Switching back and forth between platforms, that would be more challenging for now, but that could come. We are working on quant capabilities for sure, but quant capabilities from this rich, qualitative conversation by design. As you could see, we already allow to do structured questions as well as randomization of stimuli. So there's already a quant flavor into it, but fully integrated with other survey platforms, not to that full extreme.
Great. Well, we appreciate everybody's attendance. I want to let everybody know that a PowerPoint deck will be available. We'll be sending a follow-up link later this week to all that attended today and to those that were not able to attend. So that way you can get it directly from Conveo. And then an archive recording will be available later next week. If you opted in from receiving emails from us. If you're not quite sure whether you opted in, go ahead and send me an email at pam.bracken@uga.edu. You got that information when you registered for this webinar. Thanks for joining us this month, and we look forward to seeing you next month at our next webinar. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.